If and when Porzingis gets hurt, they're still good enough to win.
I still don't feel that way.
If anybody wants to ask, I haven't gotten an update on Porzingis yet, so we can save the time.
Porzingis leaves it, Brown takes it to the basket.
I don't think Al Horford is going to be able to sustain that. Like, he doesn't look
Yeah, but
like
you're
somebody
not-
that I want to depend
My
on in
point
the
is,
playoffs.
you're not
and
depending
you didn't look
on
that way in the playoffs last year either. You are if Kristaps Porzingis
No,
isn't
you're
out there.
not. You still have Tatum and Brown.
Something bad happened. That's not good.
You don't think it's a problem not to have a big out there?
I think Horford is fine, is what I'm telling you. And he's probably better there than off the bench. He's probably grousing about coming off the bench.
This is a wild take.
Okay. Wow. Talk about a take ahead of its time, coming home to roost.
Oh, yeah, nobody saw this coming.
When was that from, Ryan?
Mid-November.
Okay, I was going to say.
November 16th, I think.
I feel like that was right around like the opener. Are they good enough to win without Kristaps Porzingis?
This was after they had just knocked off Philadelphia. That was the premise, that they were able to do it without Kristaps Porzingis.
Well, they've pretty much won every game they played without Porzingis this year. So you know my stance. You just heard it. I've had it for months and months and months. They can win without Kristaps Porzingis. Didn't know we had that off the top. Enjoyed hearing it back. But that's our big question of the day. Up now at Jones and Mego following the Celtics 102-88 victory over the Miami Heat, who really are pathetic. I'm not giving Ryan full credit for this take. He's already celebrating back there. They don't have Jimmy Butler. So, they're a completely different team. But, my God, that team, how many open threes did they miss last night? I'd love to give the Celtics credit for their defense. They didn't play any defense. The Heat just missed all the shots they made in Game 2. That wasn't a defensive performance from the Celtics, who, in fairness, are destroying this crappy Heat team. But they're on the brink. It should end tomorrow in Game 5 at the Garden. Are we going to be out and about for that? Have we gotten final word on that?
We haven't. We can check in with Ken, though, at break.
We're supposed to be out and about for that tomorrow.
3 o'clock. I heard we'll find out by 3 o'clock.
Okay. We'll let you know when we know. But we're supposed to be out and about for that. I don't think Porzingis is playing in that one. So our big question of the day, along with all your phone calls, 617-779-7937. Can the Celtics win a championship without Kristaps Porzingis? You heard my stance in November. Mine hasn't changed. You heard Mego's there back in November. Mego, has your stance changed? Are they good enough to win a championship without Porzingis?
I'm really sorry to say no. No, I really don't think they are. And I'll say it because of this. I think that they should get through the East, and they should absolutely be back in the finals, even if Porzingis can't come back. Denver is just such a huge challenge for you, even without Porzingis. And I know that you're going to hold up the regular season record of they've gone 21-4 without Porzingis on the floor, so
Correct.
they should just be fine. But if we're going to throw back the regular season in everybody's face, well, they've lost to Denver twice this season. Denver is such a big challenge, even when Porzingis is available. And honestly, I'm also a little concerned, even if it's not Denver. If Denver is taken down by Minnesota, I think Minnesota is a scary team defensively with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. And then you have Anthony Edwards playing out of his freaking mind. I just think that when you see a team like that, when you lose in Porzingis, what he's able to do just in terms of spacing the floor is pretty irreplaceable with your current roster. And so, yeah, you absolutely should get back to the finals. But I am fingers crossed, toes
So I don't
crossed.
get this.
Don't look up the toes on the internet because they're really ugly, but they're long enough to cross. You should really, really be careful with whatever's happening with Porzingis so he's available for the finals.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, don't rush him back, obviously. But if he can't go, he can't go. And if he's not the same player, he's not the same player. But I don't get it. They're good enough to make the finals, but not good enough to win it?
Yeah, because I think those teams in the West are so much better than everybody else in the East. They're the only ones who are really on your level. I look at it, honestly, if you're looking at who these NBA teams are taking into account all of the injuries right now at this point in the playoffs, it really is Celtics, Denver at the top in a tier of their own. And that's mostly because of Jokic over on Denver and just how hard he is to match up against and how he'll grind you down if you get through a 7-game series. And then after that, I have Minnesota and maybe OKC a little bit on a tier below. And then honestly, on the next tier is the rest of the East with whoever else is left in the West. Those are the only teams that scare me. Nobody in the East.
Arcam, we haven't heard from you off the top or so far today. Are they good
Yeah,
enough
where
to
was
win?
I in that clip?
Yeah, where were you?
Ryan edited me out, I guess.
Well,
He
you're-
was getting a swirly from Drake May in the
that could
bathroom.
be,
You were probably down the hall and afraid
Free
to weigh in.
napkins down the hallway.
Maybe you contradicted yourself. You agreed and then disagreed with yourself within 30 seconds.
That's
and Ryan
never
didn't find
ever
it usable.
happened before, I don't
Yeah.
think. For me, I'd say no. I don't think so. And it's because of the way the rest of the team's playing. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown so far have been kind of in quicksand this series. And they may wake up and they may start playing better. And if that happens, great. They have enough talent to win the championship, if that's what you're asking, Jones. But are they going to do it without Porzingis? No, I don't think so. I think that if these guys are sort of sleepwalking through these early rounds, I agree with Mego. I don't think that the Knicks or the Pacers it's probably going to be, or whoever comes out of the Orlando-Cleveland series, I don't think any of them can compete with the Celtics. But I do think that a series with Jokic without Porzingis, a series against the Bigs over in Minnesota without Porzingis, that's a real tall task. And I don't think that the rest of the team's playing well enough to withstand that. By the way, they never beat the Nuggets this year. Nuggets beat them twice, the only team they have a losing record against.
I
So
did say that.
I don't think it's some guarantee that
She
they
did say
did.
that.
You say that? My bad.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
all
think it's some guarantee.
By the way, Mego, they lost both games.
Right.
What?
It's not a guarantee that you can beat that team. You haven't done it yet, so I don't think that there's any reason to think that that's a given. So I say no.
21-4 this year without Porzingis. It's a better win percentage than they had with him. Okay? So they won 11 out of 12 without Porzingis. They just won a playoff game last night
They never beat the Nuggets either.
without Porzingis. I
didn't?
have heard once or twice they didn't beat the Nuggets this year. They're good enough to win without him.
I hope you're right for the record.
Okay, well, and saying anything different just lets them off the hook, meaning Tatum and Brown. It lets those two off the hook. Like, Porzingis is the difference between a championship and no championship?
I've been saying it since November.
Okay, so they couldn't have won last year?
No.
They couldn't have won 2 years ago against Golden State when they were up in the NBA Finals. They didn't have Porzingis
Well,
then.
see,
No, because of the way
like,
their stars played
also-
and the way they're playing right now.
Okay,
Also, the way
but
that
then
you're
it's about their
talking about
stars. It's not about Porzingis.
It's
Yes, it
also,
is.
It's also matchup based. Like, to me, okay, like, I'm going to be totally honest, as Arkan just said, and as I said before that, it's not even so much about, like, Jason and Jalen. It's about who's on the other side in Jokic and how you match up with them and what you do against that defense with Kat and Rudy Gobert. Like, it's a matchup-based thing. To me, that's really different than saying, okay, well, Porzingis would have taken down the Warriors. That's a different matchup.
Okay. They were good enough to win the last 2 years, maybe the last 3 years without Porzingis. Now they're not good enough to win without Porzingis. That's
I don't
silly.
think they were good enough to win the last 2 years. That's why they didn't, Jones. I mean, come on.
Arcade, they were up 2-1 and then up in game 4 against Golden State. I know they didn't win. Duh. They weren't good enough to win the title 2
Jason
years ago
Tatum was
against
good
Golden
enough
State.
to win in
You
that
talk
series.
About, you talk
He had
about
a terrible
that like they were-
series.
He had a
like they were
terrible
up
series. He wasn't
3-1
good
and
enough.
they,
He wasn't
like,
good
let
enough
it
to
slip
win.
away.
They were up 2-1 and leading in the fourth quarter of game 4. They did let it slip away. What are you talking about?
You talk about it like it's like a 3-1 thing that they let go. Like it was so close.
They were
for
on
them.
their way at home to going up 3-1 against Golden State.
Yeah,
yes.
and then Steph Curry turned into what Steph Curry
Okay,
does.
But more
Arcand-
importantly, they weren't good enough.
Arkan, I agree. Tatum had a terrible series, but they lost because of Tatum. It has nothing to do with Porzingis. So if they don't get there and they don't win, it will be about Tatum and Brown. Agree. It's not about Porzingis. It's independent of Porzingis. They're good enough to win without him. And if they don't, it's not about him. It was never about Porzingis. It's about those two. That I agree with. Let me ask it another way. Denver loses Aaron Gordon. Can they win a championship?
That's stupid.
Why?
Because Aaron Gordon isn't the only big that they have
Denver-
on the
I might
floor.
say no to that.
Denver
I'd
loses.
say no to that.
Denver loses Michael Porter. Are they good enough to win?
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, just answer it. Yes
But
or
not
no.
Gordon.
Okay.
Yes, Porter, not
They're
Gordon.
good enough to win without either of those two. That team is good enough to win without their number 3. This team is good enough to win without their 3 or 4. By the way, Derek White was awesome last night. Like Minnesota, if Gobert goes down, can they win?
Again, that's another
Trick
team
question.
with a better big on the roster.
Trick
Porzingis-
question.
I say no.
Trick question. They
is
can't
the
win
bi-
anyway.
yeah.
They can't win even with him healthy.
Porzingis is the best big on the roster. That's the issue with these teams that you're comparing him to.
It's their
You're
number
sitting-
3 or
the-
4.
If you're going to make this comparison, then you sit there and you say, can the Celtics win without Al Horford?
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, probably. I guess so. It's going to be tough for them because that's their second big. Kristaps Porzingis also fulfills a different role for this team
I got it, Mego.
than those guys do on their teams.
I can't come up with a perfect analogy for Kristaps Porzingis
well,
on
the
other
ones
teams.
that you're picking up are just teams that happen to have a second big, and you're discounting the second big. You're not talking about the
The
equivalent
Celtics
of
have a
Porzingis.
second. The Celtics have a second
the
big,
Celtics have a
and
different,
Horford.
the
They're good
Celtics
enough
have
to
a
win with
different
Horford.
Makeup. They have 2 wings.
Okay, they're good enough to win
Those
with Horford.
are their top players.
They're not good enough to win without Porzingis.
No.
So if we get
not
an
in the finals.
if we get an update, shut it down. They're done.
I mean, look, I'm telling you, I'm hoping that you're right. I don't think you are.
Okay. Here's what we know about Kristaps Porzingis. I told you this in October. I still feel the same way. No, I don't think I'm not going to give them the out that if Porzingis gets hurt, that's their excuse to not win the title. Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis will undergo imaging on Tuesday. That's today. But early indications are he hasn't sustained an Achilles injury, according to Woj. I believe that, by the way. They would know by now. If he had a torn Achilles, they would have known on the court last night. Never mind by now today. So I agree with that. Washburn tweeted about him in a walking boot. I also saw a bunch of photos, images of him in a walking boot leaving the arena last night.
Gamesmanship.
You think that's gamesmanship?
Absolute gamesmanship.
What do we make of this? Porzingis also tweeted out, good W tonight. D. White is special. Thanks for all the support. Will, W-I-L-L, not wheel, will be good with a flexing emoji. Is
it
what he put up.
That he didn't sustain any finger injuries because he tweeted that out, or he told someone to do it.
So if I had to guess, he's playing again in the postseason, assuming the Celtics can advance without him, and they will. I know you guys are afraid of his absence. I'm not. And so
I didn't say he couldn't advance without him.
I think he's going to play again. And I don't think this is like some season ender for Kristaps Porzingis. Doesn't feel that way, but it could be a while. You know, Giannis had some kind of Achilles injury. Arkan, I know you think it might be something different. And he isn't back, and it could take weeks for Porzingis to return. So how will he look when he comes back? Will he still be managing something? Could he have another setback and another injury? Sure. All those things are possible, and I think they're good enough to win without him. But you don't buy that it's an Achilles injury, Arkan.
Well, not necessarily.
Or a calf injury.
I think that's what maybe happened after the first day. So if you watch the game, you saw right before he left the court, the possession before that, Derek White missed a shot. He went in to get a rebound, and he turned his ankle, and he was limping around. And that was like 30 seconds between then and when they went back down the other way, and he was clearly favoring the ankle. And I was a little surprised. I think Tomasi tweeted about this too. Why did he stay in the game? Why not call a timeout there? You got the ball back. Like, why not get your hobbled center off the court, which I didn't love. But I do. It's not that I don't think there was a calf injury or a potential Achilles. They said it was a calf strain. It just seemed like that was maybe not the initial injury, but something that happened because he was favoring his other leg.
So to me, that would be worse. And you just said it. It's like, oh, good. He's got an ankle injury and a calf injury.
Yeah.
Great. So he's made of glass. And this is why I got in front of this take, because I didn't expect him to survive a playoff run. And he made it 4 games. 4 postseason games against another physical team in Miami, and he's down. You better hope they can win without him.
Not all 4.
Because it's true. Not even a full 4.
Don't give him that.
He's like Garoppolo. When you say he made it through 2 games, not true. Game and a half. So, yeah, like 3 1/4 is what he made it through last night. So you better hope they can win without him, because I don't think he's going to be here for this full run. 617-779-7937. These two are afraid without Porzingis. I've been saying for a while they can win.
You're a fool if you're not afraid of Denver.
I'm not afraid of Denver anyway.
You're
never
a
mind.
fool.
Never mind without Porzingis.
You're a foolish fool.
I mean, they had trouble with the Lakers, and I know you hate the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. I don't hate
the
the
Celtics
Lakers.
had trouble with the Heat, Jones. Who
They're
don't have LeBron
They
James or
continue to have
Anthony
trouble.
Davis.
I mean,
Yes.
they've blown them
They
out.
lost the same amount of games
Okay.
as the Nuggets
Okay,
lost to
the
the
Lakers lost 2 games at the buzzer, Arcade. That's not different than smoking them by 20 points.
Not
I'm
really.
sorry, I didn't know LeBron James played for the Heat now,
Okay.
or the
Look,
equivalent.
You're talking about a team whose best player is Tyler
we're talking
Hero.
about, the Heat's
I-
bench right now.
I
Bam
respect the Lakers.
Adebayo is keeping them in
I respect the
somewhat
Lakers.
alive.
You're the one who mocks the Lakers, not me.
When have I mocked the Lakers?
All last postseason
I
run,
mocked you
and
for
this
being
year.
like Anthony Davis and LeBron James are the best duo in the whole NBA.
It's a good duo.
The
It
Suns
is.
you should be scared of the Suns.
Well, let
for
me
the
say
finals.
this. The Lakers do have that in-season tournament banner that they can look at, so that's good. They have that to feel good about.
That is true.
Yes.
Pacers,
That's nice.
Pacers were the runners-up. They're about to run the Bucks out of the building. So I put some stock in that. I do. Meanwhile, other people are shaking in their boots as well, just like these 2 fraidy cats. Let me hear Stephen A.
I'm wearing Vans.
Stephen A. this morning on First Take. Let me hear that.
Boston is in a world of trouble. There's no way you're giving them a chance to beat a team like Denver or even a Minnesota without a Kristaps Porzingis. You need him in the lineup. 7'3", can shoot, clearly can block shots. Helps Al Horford. You can't put that kind of load on Al Horford, who's obviously a very viable piece, but you can't put that kind of load on him and expect him to be able to deliver the goods for this team this year against those horses in the Western Conference and against a tough New York Knicks team as well, as physical as they're going to be willing to play. So I would say this is everything. Porzingis better be healthy enough for the next round or the round thereafter, because if not, it's a wrap.
Okay, what were you just pushing back on there,
Oh
Ryan,
my
when you
God,
said stop it? The
the
Knicks part
Knicks,
specifically?
The Knicks are so scary.
It's like, guys, Al Horford, they've been to the finals with Al Horford before. I think they can get back and they can win with this team.
I would not worry about that.
Okay, but they're so much better around than they were a couple of years ago, and they were good enough to win 2 years ago. They were talented enough to win last
they got
year.
Porzingis.
Okay, but I'm saying with Drew Holiday and more Derek White and subtract Marcus Smart, they're
Derek
in a way
White
better
is
spot.
a lot better.
Thank you.
I'll definitely give you that.
Okay, so
I'm not saying that
they
the
don't have the
Celtics-
horses. That's what Stephen A. just said. They don't have the horses. Of course they do.
They do have the horses, and I think he's just talking about like the horses, like specifically.
He said they don't have the horses to beat the Knicks.
Jokic horses, like those are serious horses over there. He's got to get back there. He's got to miss championship
Full
parades
stable,
to go to
sure.
them. So I just think that people have a tendency to underrate what the teams in the Western Conference are doing. Yeah, exactly. And just wait. And so I'm just, I would, if Porzingis, I've said this before. I said this a couple weeks ago and you guys were like, oh my God. Okay, so if Porzingis is healthy, I think the Celtics are the favorite to win. But I still think
they are
that,
the favorite to win. Yeah.
I'm saying, like, in my heart, I think that they will win. But I look at it and I go, even if Porzingis is healthy, I still think if you see Denver, you're going 6 or 7 games with Denver. And so without Porzingis, I can't in good faith sit here and go like, yeah, who's afraid of them?
So this is
Jokic, Murray, whatever. There's nothing special over there. Like, come on. Look what they're doing against, this is mostly a Heat bench.
Yeah.
It's like they lost a game to them.
Yeah, I just think more highly of the Celtics than you do, apparently. And so when it comes to this team, do you even think they fully healthy Porzingis? He comes back, he misses the rest of this series or the next matchup against Cleveland and Orlando. Even fully healthy, do you believe they can beat Denver? You said you think they're going 6 or 7 games with Porzingis.
Yes, I said this 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I said that I think they'll win.
So
but
you finally changed your stance on this.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Porzingis needs to be healthy, though.
Okay.
Like, that's the difference, is I think that they need their starting 5 to be healthy. That's the strength of this team.
But until 2 weeks ago, you were skeptical they could even win with Porzingis.
I was, yeah. Just because I haven't seen it yet. I don't know why that's so crazy.
I still am skeptical of that. If Porzingis was still healthy, I think that's, just looking at what Minnesota and Denver did in the first round. I think that in Minnesota's case, especially, they're really pumped up about this, and they have the type of team which Scal said is the exact type of team that the Celtics have trouble with. A big rim defender right there in the middle, guys who can score from the wing, guys who can defend on the wing. Like, they have all those tools and all those things that I think would give the Celtics a tough series. And it's not necessarily do I think the Celtics have no chance against them. They have a chance against anybody, but I think those teams have a chance against the Celtics more so than any other team in the East, much more.
If the Celtics lose to Denver, it won't be about Porzingis. For me, maybe I'll see it and I'll be shocked, but not sitting here today. I don't forecast it that way. Maybe Tatum has an awful series. They would lose because of that. Maybe Jaylen Brown is invisible like he was for most of last night. They can lose because of that. Porzingis, you're number 3? Like, how many times are we looking at a team's number 3 and blaming them for losing a series?
But here's the thing that you're missing on that when you say number 3.
He might be their 4, by the way.
The level of talent, Jones, is that the top 2 are wings. Like, I've been saying this since November. I really feel like there are guys that are maybe overall more talented as basketball players than Porzingis, but Porzingis, there's not a redundancy out there. What are you going to do? You're going to throw Luke Cornett or Tillman out there and hope that they can survive past 6 minutes?
No, you're going to play Horford.
Horford's 37 years old. He's broken down in the last 2 playoff
Horford
runs.
and Cornette is going to be his backup, and you're going to have a lot of Cornette then, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to hope that Cornette's going to be able to survive past 6 minutes? Like, you really want to see Cornette in the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, I don't really want to see Cornette, and I wish they did more at the deadline. Maybe Tillman will play more. But the real answer is Horford's going to play those big minutes, and that's fine. Here's
it's not
Scal.
fine when you need him in the finals.
Here's Scal after the game. Let's hear how he felt about it.
Obviously, for us to win a championship, I always feel like we have to have all hands on deck. But I do, if you just look at the Eastern Conference and the way it stands right now, we could carry an injury, and we can probably carry a Porzingis injury if we had to with a Luke Cornette or a Xavier Tillman.
Yeah, but and when you say carry it, you're talking through the Eastern Conference, or okay.
Yeah, I mean, just watching Denver right now, like, that's going to be an all-out war. We need all hands on deck to beat that team.
Okay, so he agrees with you guys. Afraid. They can't win. If Porzingis is shut down, no hope for the Celtics. No reason in watching. They can't win without Kristaps Porzingis.
You just said a minute ago that we never blame the third guy. Didn't we blame Marcus Smart all the time for missing all those shots and doing all those things and being the third guy? And isn't the whole point of getting Kristaps Porzingis to improve who the third guy is?
So, yes.
And make that and take some of the pressure off Brown and Tatum, who have shown they don't handle it that well.
But did they lose
in the playoffs?
Did they lose in the finals because of Marcus Smart?
I think that was part of it. Sure.
It was Tatum. And so
Tatum had a bad series, yeah.
So Tatum is why they lost. Smart got in the way, and Smart complicated things. Smart isn't why they lost.
Arcand mousetrap.
Just like how am I mousetrapped? I never
that's
said
a good take,
I never
Arcand.
said Smart is the reason they lost. I said subtracting Smart helps.
You said Smart has been holding back Jason and Jalen.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, but Tatum's the one who had the awful series.
Tatum did have an awful series.
I've always blamed
But
Tatum
Marcus
for that.
Smart
for that
also
final.
wasn't
The
good
really
enough as
good
a
news
third.
is that Tatum has totally solved any clutch issues he has.
That's true.
Okay, but so Porzingis doesn't help any of that. Exactly. It's going to be about Tatum. That's my
Porzingis
stance.
is one of your best shooters on the team.
Okay, but it's going to be about
He's
Tatum.
a better shooter field goal wise than Jason Tatum.
Just like
is.
it was with Marcus Smart, and just like it will be with Porzingis now, it's about Tatum. If Tatum doesn't rise up and Brown doesn't rise up, they're not going to win. That's independent of Porzingis or Derek White or Drew Holiday
Now
or Marcus
you
Smart
sound like a
or anyone
Creed
else.
song.
Now I sound like what?
A Creed song.
Well, you sound like you're terrified of this postseason run.
I'm
I don't get it.
terrified of Jokic and Murray, and anyone who's not is just like crazy.
I think she's just afraid to commit to the Celtics.
Maybe.
I think is all it is.
I've been
said
picking
it.
the
I've
field the
already
whole
said.
time, so this isn't new for me. Like, I've said field this entire time. And the other... I don't. You're right, Coach Prime. But also, like, Brad Stevens just won Executive of the Year this year, and he didn't win it because he stuck with Marcus Smart and Robert Williams and thought Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were good enough to win a championship. He upgraded the roster and extended those guys because he knows they aren't, and he knows that they needed help, and that's what he brought those guys in for, and that's why he won that award. So I don't see why you're, like, just dismissing these two very important pieces that were brought in this year to push them over the top.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
but
why
they
aren't you
still have
talking about the G. Willikers Award?
They still have so much more help. Like, even without Porzingis, they still have so much more help than they had a year ago.
I haven't loved Drew Holiday this series. I haven't loved the way he's played.
I mean, look, he hasn't been great in this series. But
I haven't really loved Tatum and Brown either in this series. to be
No,
honest with
they've
you.
been bad.
Yeah.
And if they don't go far,
That's why I'm
that's
not picking them to win the whole thing.
That's going to be the reason. But it's independent of Porzingis. But you guys can vote. Can the Celtics win a championship without Kristaps Porzingis? As a wise man once said, do you believe? You can vote. At Jones and Mego, you can dial us up, 617-779-7937. These two say no chance, pack it in. They cannot win without Porzingis. I say yes, and I've been saying that for, 6 months.